Sometimes love leaves before you understand why, and all you're left with are unanswered questions and a heavy heart. But what you don't realize is that Allah doesn't remove people to break you. He removes them to rebuild you. The one meant for you will never have to be begged to stay, because Allah does not let what's written for you drift away. Every heartbreak is a hidden doorway to something far purer, far more peaceful, and far closer to His plan. So don't chase what walked away. Trust that what's gone was never yours, and what's yours will find its way back in Allah's perfect timing. Every heartache has meaning, even when you can't see it. When someone leaves, it may feel like a wound, but sometimes it's actually the beginning of your healing. Allah doesn't remove people to break your spirit. He removes them to protect your peace and redirect your path towards something better. Not all departures are punishments, some are divine rescues. Allah sees what your eyes can't, the intentions, the timing, the unseen outcomes. What feels like a painful ending might be His way of sparing you from a storm that could have shattered your faith. When Allah closes a chapter in your life, it's because He's writing a new one with wisdom beyond your understanding. The heart may not accept it at first, but over time you'll realize that the goodbye you resisted was actually a gate to your growth. Sometimes the people you begged to stay were never meant to be part of your destiny. Allah knew their presence would block your progress or distract your soul. He took them away, not to hurt you, but to prepare you for something greater, something peaceful, pure, and permanent. Healing begins when you stop chasing what walked away. You can't force what Allah has released. The hands that cling to the past can't receive the future. Let go with grace, knowing that what's written for you doesn't need to be begged for. It will arrive when your heart is ready. Every goodbye carries mercy wrapped in disguise. The tears that fall in sadness are often watering the seeds of your next blessing. Allah's plan might remove comfort for a moment, but He always replaces it with peace that lasts longer than the pain. You may never understand why someone left until you meet what comes next. One day, the pieces will fit and you'll whisper, Alhamdulillah, for what once made you cry. That's the beauty of faith. It turns confusion into clarity with time and trust. Holding on too tightly can blind you to the doors Allah is trying to open. Sometimes you must lose what you wanted to find what you needed. It's in letting go that you create space for the love, opportunities, and peace that were written for you all along. Goodbyes are not endings, they are divine pauses. They teach you to stop depending on people who were never meant to carry your heart and start depending on the one who created it. What Allah removes, He replaces with something your soul truly needs. Allah doesn't take anyone from your life without reason. Every departure serves a purpose to teach, to test, or to transform. When you see it through faith instead of fear, the pain begins to make sense and your heart starts to heal naturally. You were never meant to beg for love that drains you. The right person sent by Allah will bring you peace, not pain. Until then, your solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. Allah uses waiting seasons to refine hearts for the love they're meant to hold. Sometimes you pray for strength and Allah answers by removing what makes you weak. You ask for peace and He takes away what keeps you restless. His way of giving often starts by taking, but only because He knows what will truly fill your heart. Every person who leaves behind a lesson. Some teach patience, others humility, and a few remind you to love yourself without conditions. When you take the lesson instead of the loss, you discover the gift hidden in the pain. You may not see it now, but every goodbye moves you closer to the version of yourself that Allah wants you to become. The heartbreak you're healing from today is shaping the faith, wisdom, and strength you'll need tomorrow. So instead of mourning what's gone, thank Allah for what He's making room for. The pain you feel now is temporary, but the peace He's preparing is eternal. Some goodbyes are not the end of your story, they're just the beginning of the chapter that finally makes sense. A broken heart may feel like the end, but in truth, it's often the beginning of your return to Allah. When everything around you falls apart, the soul finally looks upward for strength. The cracks in your heart are not signs of weakness, they are openings through which faith can enter again. Pain has a way of silencing distractions. When your heart breaks, the world's noise fades and you start hearing your own soul more clearly. In that silence, Allah's presence becomes louder. What once hurt begins to heal as His mercy replaces what people couldn't. Faith isn't built in comfort, it's built in hardship. When you've lost what you thought you couldn't live without, you learn that you were always held by the one who never leaves. Brokenness becomes the soil where faith grows, watered by tears, nurtured by patience, and illuminated by hope. Sometimes Allah lets your heart shatter, so you'll stop giving pieces of it to the wrong people. In the emptiness that follows, you begin to understand that only He can fill it fully. That realization is the birth of true strength, the kind rooted in surrender, not control. When the heart breaks, it sheds illusion. You begin to see people, love, and life differently. What once seemed stable proves fragile, and what once felt painful becomes purposeful. Through loss, Allah teaches you where to place your trust, and it's never in what fades. Tears are not signs of despair, they are signs of cleansing. Every tear that falls in remembrance, every whisper of Ya Allah help me, is a seed of faith being planted in your soul. Pain refines belief in ways peace never could. When faith begins to build, you stop asking asterisk, why me? Asterisk, and start asking asterisk, what is Allah teaching me? Asterisk. That shift changes everything. You begin to see heartbreak not as punishment but as preparation, a way for Allah to clear your path of what doesn't serve your future. Hearts that never break rarely learn humility. But when you've fallen and found no one to lift you but Allah, your faith deepens beyond words. You stop fearing pain because you know it now leads you back to the source of peace. Through heartbreak, Allah removes your dependence on people and replaces it with dependence on Him. The hands that once reached for the world now rise in dua. That moment when you turn your pain into prayer is where transformation begins. Faith doesn't erase pain, it gives it meaning. You'll still feel the ache, but it no longer controls you. You start carrying it with grace, knowing that every hardship is a message. Asterisk, I'm guiding you closer. Asterisk, what breaks you today may be the very thing that builds you tomorrow. When Allah allows your heart to break, He's rebuilding it in a shape that fits peace. The sharp edges of ego, attachment, and pride begin to soften. You start valuing silence over noise, prayer over attention, and sincerity over validation. That's spiritual maturity. Every heartbreak leaves behind wisdom. You learn to love more purely, to forgive more easily, and to walk away more peacefully. Pain becomes a teacher that no book could replace, and faith becomes the diploma you earn through patience and surrender. Healing begins when you realize that Allah never left you even when everyone else did. He was there in every sleepless night, in every tear you hid, and in every moment you whispered His name under your breath. That awareness rebuilds faith brick by brick. Over time, you'll see that your brokenness wasn't your downfall, it was your rebuilding. Allah allowed what hurt to humble you, and what humbled you brought you closer to Him. The pain you once resented becomes the reason you finally found peace. So if your heart is heavy today, don't curse the breaking, thank the builder. You are being reshaped into someone stronger, wiser, and purer. Allah breaks hearts only to rebuild them upon His remembrance. And when He rebuilds you, you'll rise softer in tone, firmer in faith, and full of light. The value of your heart was never meant to be defined by people. Some will stay, others will walk away, but Allah remains constant. The Creator who shaped you from nothing doesn't base your worth on who accepts or rejects you. Your value comes from being His creation, not someone's preference. Too often, we tie our happiness to human approval. When people love us, we feel worthy. When they leave, we crumble. But true confidence is built when you detach your worth from temporary hearts and root it in the one whose love never fades. Allah does not look at your popularity, your relationships, or your status. He looks at your sincerity. The ones who left did not reduce your value. They merely revealed who couldn't handle your light. What remains after loss is its purity. If someone walks away, let them. The plan of Allah doesn't depend on their presence. You may lose a person, but you'll never lose the provision that was written for you. Every departure that hurts you is also clearing space for something better to grow. When people distance themselves, don't chase them. The heart that runs after those who left forgets the one who never moved. Allah's love does not need to compete with theirs. It's enough to fill every void if you let it. Your worth is not negotiable, it's permanent. Whether loved, ignored, praised, or forgotten by people, you remain honored in the sight of your Lord when your heart remembers Him. That's the measure of value that truly matters. Sometimes Allah allows rejection to redirect you. The door that closed was saving you from something unseen. You think you lost affection, but in reality you gained direction. When you stop measuring your worth by people, you start measuring it by peace. It's painful when someone leaves, but it's more painful to forget yourself trying to keep them. The moment you stop begging for love and start nurturing your bond with Allah, you realize you never needed human validation. You needed divine connection. Those who truly love you will never make you question your dignity. They'll honor your presence because they see you as a gift from Allah. But even if no one does, know that Allah has already written your importance in His book. You were not created to be liked by everyone. Even the prophets, peace be upon them, faced rejection, yet their worth never changed. So why let a few opinions define your value when the one who created hearts already knows yours? The more you tie your happiness to Allah, the less power people have to break you. You stop asking, why did they leave? And start saying, asterisk, Ya Allah, guide me toward what's best. Asterisk. That mindset is freedom. It turns heartbreak into hope. There is beauty in realizing that your story isn't in anyone's hands but Allah's. You don't need to convince people to stay to feel whole. The one who wrote your destiny already planned who will walk with you and who will walk away. When someone exits your life, don't take it as proof of inadequacy. Sometimes Allah removes those who blind you to your own strength. Their absence forces you to depend on Him, and that dependency builds a confidence that no relationship could give. Your worth doesn't fluctuate like human emotions. It's anchored in eternal, the love of the one who never leaves. So even when you're alone, unloved, you're being drawn closer to a companionship that outlasts all others. So lift your head, even if your heart feels heavy. You are not defined by who walked away, but by who continues to hold you together. The love of people may fade, but Allah's care never does. When you remember that, you'll never beg to be valued again. You'll already know your worth. When Allah takes something away, your heart may tremble, but His wisdom never fails. Every removal is a form of mercy, even if wrapped in pain. What you see as an ending is often the beginning of something that will serve your soul far more than what you lost. Loss is not always a sign of rejection. Sometimes it's divine redirection. Allah doesn't ruin lives, He rebuilds them differently. The plan you prayed for may not have worked, but the peace you'll gain from His plan will prove that He always knew better. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll thank Allah for what didn't stay. Some people, opportunities and desires were removed not to destroy your path, but to purify it. He takes away what harms even when you think it helps. When Allah removes, He's protecting your heart from unseen damage. These conversations you never heard, intentions you couldn't sense, and futures that would have broken. His removal is not cruelty, it's care. Through divine knowledge, every detour Allah allows carries purpose. He closes doors to guide you to better ones, even if the waiting feels endless. Patience is the bridge between what you lost and what's on its way. And Allah never leaves a patient heart unrewarded. What you perceive as delay is often divine timing. If He took it now, it's because it wasn't ready for you or you weren't ready for it. The replacement is being prepared behind the curtain of the unseen, where only Allah knows how perfectly it fits your future. Sometimes Allah has to empty your hands so He can fill them with something greater. As long as they cling to what's temporary, they can't receive what's eternal. Letting go hurts, but holding on to what Allah has released hurts even more. When people leave, remember it's not a sign of your inadequacy, it's a sign of His protection. He removes those who would slow your growth, weaken your peace, or harm your faith. What's gone was never meant to stay beyond its lesson. Faith grows most when you lose what you thought you needed. In that emptiness, you discover that Allah is enough. He replaces dependency on people with reliance on Him, and in doing so, He strengthens your heart far beyond what comfort ever could. Allah removes illusions so you can see reality clearly. Sometimes He lets your plans collapse to show you that His design is stronger. When everything breaks, that's when you finally notice that His hand never let go. When you say, Ya Allah, give me what's best, understand that best might not always look beautiful at first. It may come through heartbreak, distance, or loss. But what follows, peace, clarity, and contentment, will remind you that His best is worth every tear. The ones you lost were never yours to begin with. They were only entrusted for a time. Allah takes back what He loaned so He can give you what's meant to stay. His replacements are never random, they are precise, purpose, and filled with barakah. Allah's removal is never without replacement. He replaces pain with peace, loss with lessons, and heartbreak with healing. The problem is we often stare at the closed door so long that we forget to notice the one He's quietly opening behind us. When your plans fall apart, remember that Allah doesn't ruin, He refines. He takes away comfort to awaken gratitude. He removes people to bring you back to prayer. He shifts your world, so stop building around what was never meant to last. You may not feel it now, but the day will come when you look back and realize that what you lost made space for what your heart chose. Allah doesn't let go of anything good for you. He only removes what would have led you astray. If He takes you away from a certain place, it's because He's calling you towards something higher. The scenery may change, but His mercy travels with you. Sometimes, moving away from what's familiar is the only way to grow into what's destined. When Allah removes a blessing, He replaces it with wisdom. You learn patience, resilience, and humility, traits that last longer than any worldly gain. The real replacement isn't always physical, it's spiritual. He gives you what the soul craves more than the eyes can see. He doesn't remove to empty your life, He removes to redirect your heart. Every time you say, "Why, Ya Allah?" the answer echoes softly, "Because I love you too much to let you settle for less." His mercy hides behind what you call misfortune. When Allah replaces, He doesn't give you replicas, He gives you revelations. The next chapter won't look like the last one, it will be better. His way of healing is not through repetition, but through renewal. He doesn't fix the old, He gifts you something new. Pain teaches you to value, separation teaches you gratitude, loss teaches you patience. The removal itself becomes a classroom where faith matures. Every hardship is a lesson in disguise, preparing you for the ease that follows. When Allah took something away, it wasn't to punish you, it was to purify you. He saw attachments that dimmed your light and emotions that pulled you down, so He intervened gently, even if it felt like breaking. His goal was never ruin, but rebirth. Faith means trusting the unseen, believing that the hands that took something away are the same hands that are preparing something better. Your job is not to understand immediately, but to keep believing that the author of your story knows its ending perfectly. Every soul that has trusted Allah through loss has later said. That's the pattern of faith: confusion first, then clarity; pain first, then peace. The storm that removes is the same one that cleanses, and after it passes, everything feels lighter. Allah's replacements don't just fill the empty space, they elevate it. He takes away what drains your spirit and gives you what nourishes. When He removes, He's not cutting you down, He's pruning you so you can grow stronger, wiser, and closer to Him. So don't fear what's gone. What left was never meant to last, but what's coming will be worth every tear. Allah removes to replace, not to ruin, and the one who trusts this truth walks through every loss with dignity, hope, and peace. Every blessing that's written for you will reach you not because you chased it, but because Allah willed it. You don't have to fight what's meant to flow naturally. The moment you stop forcing outcomes, you make space for divine timing to unfold in its perfect way. What's meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never yours. Forcing something only drains your heart and delays your peace. The believer's strength is not in control, but in trust. Trust that Allah's timing never fails, even when patience feels heavy. Sometimes Allah withholds something you desire deeply because He knows it would harm your soul more than help it. When you stop pushing against His will and start flowing with it, life becomes lighter. What is written will come not by your force, but by His mercy. The heart that trusts doesn't chase endlessly. It works, it prays, and then it lets go. True reliance is knowing that your efforts matter, but only Allah decides the outcome. You're not in charge of results, you're in charge of faith. When something is destined for you, it will align effortlessly. You won't have to beg, manipulate, or break yourself to keep it. Allah makes the path clear when the time is right. What's written for you fits not because it's easy, but because it's so. Every forced connection ends in exhaustion. When you try to hold on to what's fading, it slips away faster. But when you surrender it to Allah, He replaces it with something that stays. His plan never requires you to lose your peace just to keep someone close. The beauty of destiny is that it unfolds even in silence. You don't have to chase it loudly, you just need to stay sincere. What's meant for you will recognize you, reach you, and remain with you no matter who tries to stand in its way. Sometimes Allah delays what's destined for you so that you arrive ready. The version of you today may not be prepared for the blessing shaping for tomorrow. So when things don't happen yet, don't force them grow. When Allah writes something for you, even distance can't erase it. What's meant for your heart will find it, whether it's a person, a purpose, or peace. No force on earth can take away what the heavens have already sealed in your name. We often tire ourselves trying to open doors that were never meant for us. But the doors Allah opens never require you to break yourself to walk through them. Ease in pursuit is a sign of blessing. Chaos is often a warning to pause. You don't prove your worth to what's written for you. The right people, opportunities, and seasons will recognize your value without you explaining it. When Allah sends what's meant for you, it will feel like home, calm, certain, and safe. Faith means learning to wait without worry. The believer works, prays, and releases the outcome. You can't rush destiny, but you can prepare for it. Every delay carries meaning. Every waiting season shapes strength you'll later need. If you have to force love, it's not love, it's attachment. If you have to force opportunity, it's not provision, it's distraction. What's written for you will never compete with your peace, it will protect it. Allah's timing may test your patience, but it never betrays it. The space between wanting and receiving is where faith matures. You learn that ease isn't about getting what you want, it's about trusting that Allah knows exactly when to give it. When something feels heavy to keep, that's Allah whispering, let it go. What's truly yours will never need. When you step back in faith, you allow what's meant for you to come without struggle, without compromise, and without confusion. Destiny doesn't rush. Even the most beautiful things arrive quietly. The flower doesn't bloom before its time. The sunrise doesn't appear a moment too soon. Allah's plans unfold with precision, not pressure. So don't hurry, just trust. Forcing life to go your way often leads to heartbreak, but trusting Allah's way leads to harmony. The one who relies on Him never true. Even what slips away becomes a lesson, and every lesson becomes preparation for what's coming next. You'll know something is written for you when it brings peace to your soul, not tension to your heart. Ease is the signature of divine decree. What's yours won't make you beg, it will make you grateful. Every delay you face is a doorway to self-reflection. Perhaps Allah is still polishing your heart, teaching you patience, or protecting you from unseen harm. Trust that the detour is not denial, it's divine redirection. The more you surrender, the freer you become. You stop fearing loss because you understand that nothing leaves unless it's replaced by something better. The believer who trusts destiny walks lightly, knowing that every step is guided. Forcing relationships, plans, or dreams only reveals mistrust in Allah's wisdom. Real faith is being at peace even when you don't get what you want. You realize that sometimes unanswered prayers are the greatest mercy. When Allah writes something for you, He makes it possible, not painful. The journey may challenge you, but it won't destroy you. You feel His guidance through every turn, subtle signs, calmness in your heart, and blessings in your path. The best things in life are never forced. They arrive softly, settle smoothly, and stay silently. You don't have to push what Allah pulls toward you. Your only job is to keep your heart clean enough to recognize it when it comes. If you could see how perfectly Allah aligns everything for you, you'd stop worrying. You'd realize that every delay, every no, every silence was part of a bigger yes, one written with love long before you were born. So stop forcing, start trusting. Let go of what's slipping away and hold firmly to faith. What's destined for you is already finding its way step by step, moment by moment. And when it finally arrives, you'll understand why every struggle was worth the wait. Peace isn't something you chase, it's something that arrives when you finally stop gripping what Allah has already asked you to let go of. The tighter you hold on to what's fading, the more it hurts. But when you release it with trust, your hands become free to receive what's better. The human heart was never designed to control everything. It was designed to rely. When you learn to surrender what you can't change, Allah replaces your anxiety with calmness. Letting go isn't weakness, it's the highest form of faith, saying, Ya Allah, I leave it in your hands. We often cling to people, plans, and outcomes as if our happiness depends on them. But peace only comes when you remember that it never did. The more you trust in Allah's decree, the lighter your heart becomes. Control is exhausting, surrender is liberating. Sometimes what you're holding on to is what's hurting you most. You pray for peace but refuse to release the very thing disturbing it. Allah cannot fill your heart with calm while it's occupied by fear. Empty and watch how quickly He's merciful. The strength of faith isn't in how tightly you grip life, but in how gently you let go. When Allah says asterisk, enough, asterisk, when you stop fighting His wisdom, you start feeling His peace. And in that surrender, you find a serenity the world can't offer. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying what was never yours to bear. Allah doesn't expect you to fix every situation. He expects you to trust Him with it. Some of the greatest relief comes not from doing more, but from finally stopping. When you surrender your worries to Allah, you'll notice the stillness that follows. It's as if the heart finally breathes after holding its breath for too long. That's the peace that arrives when you let go, quiet, steady, and beautifully certain. We often think peace comes when everything goes right, but true peace begins when we stop demanding perfection. Even in the midst of chaos, a heart anchored in Allah remains calm. Letting go isn't about control, it's about confidence in His care. Some of what you're trying to save was never meant to stay. Allah removes people, plans, and paths that would have drained your soul. The peace you feel after letting go isn't loss, it's protection. You were saved, not abandoned. The more you cling to temporary things, the more your peace depends on their presence. But when you hold on to Allah, your peace remains unshaken because He never leaves. True stability isn't found in control, but in connection. Your heart is not a prison for the past. The moment you release what hurt you, you make space for Him. The more you hold on to resentment, the less room there is for blessings. Peace begins where grudges end. Letting go teaches humility. It reminds you that you're not the author of your story, you're the reader, learning to trust the plot. When you stop rewriting Allah's decree, you start understanding its beauty. Every line, even the painful ones, has purpose. You can't walk forward while staring back. Some chapters must end so your soul can start the next one. Letting go isn't giving up, it's growing up, learning that not every attachment deserves a lifetime. Some were meant only to teach. The more you trust Allah, the less you to force outcomes. When you let go of control, life stops feeling like a battle. Peace comes quietly, often in the moment you say, I don't know what will happen, but I know who's in charge. Letting go isn't a loss of love, it's a return to balance. It's reminding your heart that Allah is the center, not people, not plans, not emotions. The heart that revolves around Him never collapses, even when everything else changes. You can pray for peace and still struggle, that's normal. But real peace begins when you hand the struggle back to Allah. When you whisper, you know what I can't say, you see what I can't explain, you'll feel the burden start to lift. The act of surrender transforms you. It replaces overthinking with trust, fear with faith, and desperation with contentment. You realize that Allah doesn't need you to figure everything out. He just wants you to remember that He already has. Letting go doesn't mean losing, it means realigning. The soul learns to lean on what lasts. The moment you release your grip on people and outcomes, you grab hold of something far stronger, divine that cannot be shaken. Peace is not found in fixing what's broken, but in accepting what's decreed. When you stop demanding explanations from life and start finding lessons in it, your heart softens. The same storm that once frightened now becomes your reminder of Allah's control. If Allah removes something from your grasp, it's because He knows it's time. You may cry over what slipped away, but later you'll thank Him for what replaced it. Holding on delays His gifts. Releasing welcomes them. Peace is not the absence of struggle, it's the presence of trust. You'll still face challenges, but your heart won't tremble as it used to. That calm confidence comes from knowing Allah never leaves those who leave their worries with Him. The more you loosen your grip, the clearer your vision becomes. You start noticing blessings you once overlooked, the health you still have, the friends who stayed, the prayers that were quietly answered. Gratitude grows where control ends. Sometimes Allah shakes your life not to break it, but to make you release what was never good for you. Every loss, every delay, every silence carries a hidden mercy. The more you surrender, the more your soul rests. When you let go, you don't lose control, you gain peace. You learn that Allah writes the story and your job is only to walk it with grace. That realization alone can turn anxiety into calmness and heartbreak into healing. So breathe and let what's meant to leave, leave. Don't grip so tightly that you miss the beauty of surrender. The peace you're searching for doesn't come from holding on. It comes from handing it over to Allah and saying, asterisk, you know best, and that's enough for me. Every silent tear, every thought you never shared, Allah heard it all. You may not have spoken it, but your heart did, and He understood. The beauty of His mercy is that He listens even to the whispers you're too afraid to turn into words. There are nights when you lay in silence, your lips still, but your soul trembling. In those moments, remember your silence is a dua. Allah reads what your heart feels even when your tongue cannot express it. Nothing escapes His knowledge, not even your unspoken pain. You don't need to explain yourself to the one who created you. Before a word leaves your lips, He already knows the storm behind it. When others misunderstand you, Allah sees the truth. His understanding is your comfort when the world fails to listen. How many times have you smiled to hide your ache? How often have you said, I'm fine, when you weren't? Allah knows. He counts every tear you didn't shed and records every emotion you didn't know how to express. That's how deeply He cares. The world judges what it sees. Allah knows what it feels. He hears the cries you mute and the prayers you forget to finish. Sometimes the loudest call to Him comes from the quietest heart. You don't have to shout for Him to notice you. A whisper is enough. When you sit alone, thinking no one understands, remember that your Creator never leaves your side. Even the thoughts you think in passing are known. That's how intimate His mercy is, closer than your veins, deeper than your fears. There are moments you feel unseen, unheard, and forgotten. But the truth is, Allah never misses a single heartbeat. He's the one who placed those emotions within you, not to overwhelm you, but to remind you that you're never truly alone. Your pain doesn't need translation in front of Allah. You could cry without words and He would still know exactly what hurts and why. That's the beauty of having a Lord who understands emotion before expression. Sometimes you stay silent because words would only complicate your feelings. That's alright, Allah listens through your silence. He knows when your I'm okay means I'm struggling, and when your it's fine means it's breaking. Even the thoughts you hide from yourself are known to Him. The confusion, the hope, the regret, all of it. And yet He doesn't judge you, your emotions. He comforts you through them. That's divine compassion, the kind no human can replicate. When people walk away because they don't understand, Allah stays because He always does. You never need to explain the chapters of your life to the author of your story. He knows why everything unfolded the way it did. Allah's knowledge isn't distant, it's personal. He doesn't just know your words, He knows your intentions behind them. He doesn't just see your tears, He knows which memory caused them. He understands your heart like no one ever will. The dua you couldn't complete because you broke down halfway, He heard that too. The apology you wanted to make but couldn't find the courage, He knows. The dream you buried because life moved on, it's still written in His knowledge. When your thoughts spiral and your heart feels heavy to Allah, you don't need perfect words. He understands the language of sincerity more than the language of eloquence. Sometimes the most powerful dua is a tear. Allah knows when you're holding yourself together while falling apart inside. He sees the strength you don't even acknowledge. Every effort, every silent battle is witnessed by Him, and none of it goes unrewarded. The one who created your heart knows exactly how to heal it. He understands your patterns, your fears, your insecurities, what you hide from people. He already knew before you did, and yet He loves you still, endlessly, patiently, unconditionally. When no one believes in your pain, Allah validates it. He knows how deeply that betrayal cut, how long that silence lasted, and how hard it is to forgive. He sees you trying, and that trying is already seen as worship. Every thought that passes through your mind is seen by the one who knows you better than you know yourself. And still, He waits for you to turn to Him. Not because He needs your words, but because your soul needs His presence. Sometimes Allah keeps you silent, not because He doesn't hear, but because He's already working on what you're too afraid to ask for. The answer is forming quietly while your heart learns patience. His timing never misses. You might not know how to express your hurt, but Allah already knows the story behind every tear. He knows the words you wish someone would say to you, and sometimes He sends them through a verse, a reminder, or peace that suddenly settles in your chest. When you pray in silence, angels record your sincerity. Allah loves the dua that comes without words, the one soaked in emotion and hidden from everyone else. That private connection between you and Him is where hearts truly heal. The world often values expression, but Allah values intention. Even if you say nothing, your faith speaks volumes. The way you keep turning to Him, even wordlessly, is proof of a heart that still believes. Every unspoken conversation between you and Allah builds a bridge stronger than words. When your heart trembles and you whisper, "You know, Ya Allah," that's not weakness, that's the highest form of trust. You're saying, "I don't need to explain. You already know." You'll never need to shout for Allah's attention. He was listening even before you began to speak. The next time you're quiet, remember that your silence is sacred. It's heard, recorded, and answered in ways you may not yet see. So don't be afraid of silence. Fill it with remembrance, reflection, and quiet faith. Allah hears the dua that never reaches your lips, and He answers the prayers buried deepest in your heart. Trust that your silence has already spoken louder than words ever could. When Allah writes someone for you, they don't come to test your peace, they come to complete it. The person meant for your heart won't drag you into chaos or confusion. They will bring calm, clarity, and contentment that whispers, "Asterisk, this is what I've been waiting for." Asterisk. Love that's blessed by Allah doesn't need to be begged for or constantly proven. It's mutual, effortless, and rooted in respect. When two hearts are written together, they grow closer without force, because Allah Himself becomes the link between them. Barakah in a relationship doesn't mean perfection. It means peace during imperfection. The right person won't erase your struggles, but they'll help you walk through them with faith, patience, and gentleness. Together you'll both rise, not wrestle. When you meet someone written for you, their presence feels like a dua answered quietly. There's ease in the way you connect, not tension in every step. Allah doesn't unite hearts through hardship. He unites them through harmony, trust, and sincerity. True love doesn't feel like a battle. You don't have to constantly prove your worth, fight for attention, or beg for effort. The right person will see your value because Allah opens their eyes. And when He opens a heart, no one can close. Some relationships drain you because they were built on ego, not barakah. When Allah blesses a bond, it brings peace even in storms. The arguments become lessons, not wounds. You may disagree, but you never destroy each other. The love that Allah writes for you will make you a better believer, not a broken one. You'll find yourself praying more, smiling more, and stressing less. They won't lead you away from Allah. They'll walk with you toward Him. That's how you recognize His gift. What's meant for you won't make you feel unworthy. You won't have to chase it, manipulate it, or beg it to stay. When Allah sends someone as a blessing, He plants tranquility between your hearts, the kind of peace that makes gratitude your first reaction. Sometimes Allah removes people who bring battles because He's preparing someone who brings barakah. The heartbreak you faced wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You had to experience the wrong kind of love to recognize the right kind of peace. The right person won't confuse you about their intentions. They'll bring clarity, not chaos. You'll never have to question your place in their heart because Allah places you in it with certainty. What's destined for you will feel guided, not guessed. Barakah isn't about wealth or luxury. It's about presence. It's the smile that feels like home, the silence that feels safe, and the companionship that brings you closer to your purpose. That kind of love isn't found, it's sent. When Allah writes someone for you, even the waiting will carry wisdom. The delay refines you both. You learn patience, self-respect, and spiritual depth. Then, when you finally meet, you'll recognize the value of timing, that Allah's not yet was really His. I'm preparing you. You'll know the difference between tests and blessings by how they make your soul feel. What's from Allah brings calm even in confusion, light even in darkness. What isn't from Him will exhaust you, drain you, and distance you from peace. The one meant for you will bring peace to your parents, respect to your family, and kindness to your surroundings. Barakah spreads, it doesn't isolate. When Allah blesses a union, it uplifts everyone connected to it. Stop chasing connections that drain your faith. If you have to sacrifice your peace to keep someone, they were never a blessing. The right person will guard your deen, protect your dignity, and honor your emotions because Allah taught them how to love. Barakah in love means Allah is present in your hearts and decisions. You don't rely on feelings alone, you rely on prayer. When you both turn to Him for guidance, every hardship becomes bearable because it's faced together with tawakkul. When Allah blesses a relationship, it doesn't rush, it unfolds naturally. The connection deepens over time, not under pressure. The hearts align because they've been prepared, purified, and positioned perfectly by His plan. The one meant for you will never make you compete for peace. They'll bring you emotional safety, not emotional exhaustion. They'll speak words that heal, not ones that wound. That's how Allah's blessing feels soft, steady, and sincere. If something constant feels forced, let it go. You can't drag a soul into alignment with yours if Allah hasn't written it. But when He has, even distance can't break it, and time only strengthens it. What's from Him stays gracefully and willingly. Barakah-filled love doesn't demand perfection, it inspires growth. You'll both remind each other to become better, not bitter. Instead of competing, you'll complement. Instead of controlling, you'll care. That's what divine love looks like, balance. If a relationship keeps taking more than it gives, it's not barakah, it's burden. Allah never intended love to feel like suffocation. The person meant for you will bring air to your lungs, not weight to your shoulders. The right person won't fear losing you because they'll know you're a trust from Allah, not a possession. They'll handle your heart with gentleness and gratitude, aware that the one who gave it can take it back. That humility keeps love pure. When Allah chooses someone for you, He aligns your values before your emotions. That's why barakah lasts. It's built on sincerity, not superficial attraction. The connection is deeper because it's based on purpose, not just presence. Barakah is when the relationship teaches you gratitude, not greed. You stop comparing, or complaining. You start cherishing. The one meant for you won't add noise to your life. They'll bring stillness to your heart. So trust Allah's process. Stop chasing battles disguised as love. When the time is right, you will arrive not to test you, but to share it.
In moments of crisis, you see, the reality of life is that one thing is absolute.